Okay. I know I said my next video will be on the MLS, but that's proving to be pretty difficult. Sorry to everyone that voted on that video. However, the show must go on. Spring football has been back in one form or another, and in two instances, ended due to league incompetence or worldwide pandemic. I originally thought to cover leagues individually, but thought to combine it all to make it more interesting. We've got the Incompetent League, the WWE and now the Rock League, and the Fox Sports League. It's a lot to go over in this time frame. So our journey will begin with the ill-fated Alliance of American Football, or AAF, the rebooted XFL that began play in 2020 and came back this past spring, and the rebooted United States Football League, or USFL. I'll also be looking at the uniforms of any teams that folded or are currently on hiatus in the latter two leagues, because there probably won't be another opportunity to talk about them. Since only one of these leagues used the names, colors, and logos from pre-existing teams, there will be no classic category. Our categories will be crap for any that I don't like, meh for any that don't really wow me and could be better, decent for ones that I think are good, and awesome for the ones that just blow me away and I love. Anyways, here is every spring football uniform since 2019 ranked, and we begin with the AAF. Atlanta Legends. First of all, what an awfully generic name. Legends of what? Choking? The city of Atlanta can thank God for the Braves and Georgia football for stepping up in recent years. Anyways, the color combo of purple and gold is nice as it tends to be, but nothing here wows me. Both the colored and white jerseys feel like they should belong to a fictional team from a movie or TV show, and not even a good example of that either. And no, I didn't mean to say home and road jerseys. The AAF had this thing where color versus color matchups were basically the norm unless it was absolutely necessary for someone to wear white. But anyways, just like the team name itself, this is very meh. Birmingham Iron. This honestly looks like the result of the Browns trying to be the Raiders, and frankly, it works! Unlike Atlanta, who tried to have an identity and failed, this one sticks to keep it simple stupid and succeeds. Obviously, black and silver is a good color combination. I would say the same for their white jersey, but I can't find it, so I guess they never wore it. The overall package is decent. It may not be the most original, but at least it looks good. Memphis Express. You know, I wonder if they would have been sued for using purple and orange like FedEx, because it's clearly the inspiration for the name. I dig the gradient on the ear flap from blue to red, certainly more natural than a fade to or from black. The color jersey looks nice with the main blue and the red highlights, but the white jersey is bland. Why didn't this one get red highlights too? I'm still gonna rate it decent, but it's on the lower end of decent, and thankfully they wore blue majority of the time. Orlando Apollos. The championship favorites, if they had one, are a bit strange. Let me explain. Out of the league's 8 teams, they wore white the most. Why? Florida, I guess. Their 3 NFL teams wore white to start the season because it's so hot. Their white uniform is okay and reminds me of an NFL jersey from the 2000s with its big slab of color on the very top. Now, the blue jersey that I'm pretty sure they only wore once, it's a mismatch. Like Memphis, the two jerseys don't match, and on top of that, the number font is different for some reason. I feel like this number font was used by Arizona in the 2000s or even in EA Arena Football. It's not bad, but why the mismatch? It gives off the impression that the jerseys were made by two people who never spoke to each other. I don't dislike them, but nothing does it for me. Very much meh. Arizona Hotshots. Named after firefighters, the Hotshots are one of 3 AAF teams to do something I'm glad Starter did, and that was have the helmet sport the logo on one side and the player's number on the other side. The only other time you see that is in college. Anyways, the color combination of yellow and green is one used by many teams in many different leagues, but with orange thrown in, I actually kind of like it. It definitely separates them from teams like Green Bay or Edmonton, that's for sure. We never saw a white version, and overall, Arizona is decent. Salt Lake Stallions. Now, you're probably expecting me to bring out my anti-gray jersey shtick, but I'm not going to. Unlike other gray jersey attempts, this one isn't that bad. I think lighter grays are much more dynamic than their darker, blander counterparts. I also enjoy the 2 shades of blue used here too. Now, just like Arizona, this was it. This was the Stallions' only jersey that we ever saw from them, and overall, it's decent. San Antonio Commanders. Before Commanders replaced Redskins, it was the team name for San Antonio, who ironically was also red. This takes what the Hotshots had and makes it better. I love the two-tone red on display. The helmet kicks ass, and I'd be lying if I didn't say I wanted Commanders merch when the AAF debuted. No white version though, but I hope it wasn't bland like the one from Memphis. Love it, and our first awesome. San Diego Fleet. A metal-looking dark gray with yellow? Now this is a great color combination. The color jersey is magnificent, and I love the highlights of yellow. However, like Memphis, the white jersey is just Blandsville. If it wasn't for the white jersey, this would be another awesome, but because of that white jersey, I'm gonna dock some points as San Diego only gets to be decent. Sorry. On to the XFL, DC Defenders. The original iteration of this in 2020 was a nice, simple, and clean design with lightning bolts on both the home and road jerseys. On the 2023 redesign, they now look like Wisconsin. Not helping is that this is being made by Under Armour, who also does Wisconsin's jerseys. The helmet logo is clever with how it displays DC, but I miss those lightning bolts, man. This is just pure meh. What a letdown. Seattle Dragons / Sea Dragons. In their first year, Seattle had the busiest looking uniforms in the league, and with the main navy color with green and orange highlights and white helmets, it did not work. Not even the white jersey helped those matters. However, the 2023 redesign, this is more of my jam. Before, they didn't know what colors to go with or what amounts to have them in. Here, orange is the main color at home with navy blue highlights, and green is reserved for the logos. This works so much better than the original, including the road version. The addition of the arrows on the shoulder stripes is odd, but ignorable. Overall, the Sea Dragons are definitely decent. St. Louis Battlehawks. Both iterations of these jerseys feel like what the Lions 2017 redesign should have been. But unlike that, the Battlehawks are a new team that doesn't have almost a century's worth of history, thus making fans easier to accept this. Anyways, the main difference is the helmet color. 2020 had blue helmets, whereas 2023 had silver helmets, driving the Lions point in even more. The wings used to look like plucked versions of the Eagles' wings, whereas the current ones seem to have taken inspiration from Oregon. Like Birmingham, while it's not 100% original, it's a nice clean look that earns a decent. Tampa Bay / Vegas Vipers. In their original 2020 version, the Vipers seem to take inspiration from Rogue from the X-Men, specifically her Age of Apocalypse design. Both sport 2 shades of green and yellow. It wasn't a bad color combination, and like Arizona, different enough from other green and yellow teams, but these greens make me think of garden snakes more than vipers. Still though, love how colorful the uniforms look. On to the Vegas reboot, I think it's a downgrade. I think they went with black and red to invoke the Raiders and UNLV, and yet ironically don't share a stadium with them. Rectify that next year, guys. I don't know, I prefer how colorful they looked in Tampa Bay. Their Vegas look is just bland by comparison. Sorry Vegas, but you're meh. Los Angeles Wildcats. The only team here that outright folded in the XFL. This name is more generic than Legends. This is the easy team name for a local grade school, middle school, high school, or even college. I should know because all 4 of those are in my area. Thankfully no East Side Wildcats here. Naming aside, these guys had some pretty cool uniforms. Black, red, and orange all go together perfectly to where their name could have been the LA Fireballs. I love the home jersey, and the road jersey brings a tear of joy to the eyes of the 76 Bucks, bringing that light orange and white together. It's a shame this team no longer exists, because these uniforms certainly were awesome. Dallas / Arlington Renegades. In their first iteration, the Renegades seemed to take inspiration from Jerry Glanville from the mid to late 80s and combine baby blue and black and do it pretty successfully. Both the home and road jerseys look sleek. Fast forward to the 2023 redesign, and yes, the black has taken a backseat, but it still looks nice overall. Granted, the road jersey screams Oilers, but I think this looks nice. I still can't believe this team is the defending champs. Overall, decent. Houston Roughnecks. Ah yes, the logo that made the NFL cry foul. And yet the Titans will start sporting this logo again this upcoming season after not bringing it out for over a decade. The original version looked like a fusion of the Patriots and the Texans, and it looked awesome. The new version clearly takes inspiration from the Texas state flag, and it is still cool. Whoever came up with this design deserves a raise, because this is absolutely awesome. New York / Orlando Guardians. The second name used to replace another team name. The original version resembles the Patriots, but in black, and man did it look slick. I even like the shade of gray used for the road jersey. When the team relocated to Orlando, they not only took the place of the Vipers, but also adopted green like the Vipers were. And despite how crappy the team was, I still like how they look at both home and on the road. Definitely decent. San Antonio Brahmas. The new team from this past season seemed like they took inspiration from the Fleet in the color department. The horns on the helmet are okay, but frankly I've seen better. However, I think it's genius that they made the road jersey yellow instead of the typical white or even gray. Overall, this is decent. And finally, the USFL. Michigan Panthers. Okay, I know I said there'd be no classic category, but this is the first of 8 uniforms where the uniforms aren't so new age compared to those found in the AAF or XFL. Anyways, these uniforms have a nice color combination of maroon and gold, like a muted version of the 49ers. They also have baby navy blue added, though it's quite subtle. It is a nice update of the 80s version, that's for sure. Overall, pretty decent looking. New Jersey Generals. This is also a nice update of the original. I do like the addition of the 5-star logo on top of the shoulders, with the numbers staying on the sleeves. It's simple but nothing mind-blowing, but still decent. Philadelphia Stars. This is probably the most 80s looking of the uniforms, mostly from the logo. The color combination of red and yellow is very nice, and I dare say this is my favorite of the current USFL jerseys. And being my favorite, this is awesome. Pittsburgh Maulers. The first version of this was a decent update of the original 80s version with their purple and orange color scheme, but starting this year they've changed to the city color scheme of black and yellow, or black and gold if you want to be picky, just like the Steelers, Pirates, and Penguins. The changes I've been led to believe was for marketability reasons. I'm more surprised that the city of Pittsburgh hasn't gotten sick of this color scheme. This is the only city whose major teams all share the same color scheme. And these uniforms, they feel like a halfway point between Steelers and Hamilton Tiger Cats. It does nothing for me, so meh. Tampa Bay Bandits. Currently on hiatus, it's freaky how despite this being a good update of the 80s version, it kind of resembles the first design for the Houston Roughnecks. Maybe Houston was inspired by them? I don't know, it doesn't look bad, but these uniforms don't exactly stick out either. Maybe there will be a redesign when they come off of hiatus, because this is all meh. Birmingham Stallions. This is a very nice update of the 80s version, and I even like the updated horse logo, even if the jersey color and dull gold helmet is screaming Boston College to me. However, I've got one question for the USFL. What possessed you to debut two teams with identical color schemes? Seriously, if you're not paying attention, you might mistake the Panthers for the Stallions or vice versa. Sure, the Panthers maroon is darker than the Stallions red, but my point still stands. I wouldn't mind either team getting a new color scheme, but overall, it's decent despite my discrepancy. Houston Gamblers. It's a decent update of the 80s version, but it feels like it leans closer to looking like Texas Tech. It's a bit on the bland side, but maybe that's because they debuted the same year as another team whose colors are red and black, that being Tampa Bay. It feels a bit meh. Memphis Showboats. The original 80s version was red, so logically the current one is navy blue and yellow. So the USFL can deviate from the original without the reason of marketability. The Showboats have borrowed two of the Grizzlies colors, with baby blue nowhere in sight, and uniforms that, quote, draw inspiration from Pittsburgh. I'll be honest, the Showboats wear this style better than the Maulers, but that may be because they're not trying to resemble another team. Overall, they're decent. New Orleans Breakers. Much like the Salt Lake Stallions, I love the multiple shades of blue being used here, and it makes for a nice update of the 80s version. It feels refreshing to see blue in the sea of red that is the USFL, but even without that aspect, it's still pleasant to look at in both home and road flavors, and overall is decent. So there you go, I've given spring football the light of day. It's funny, if you think about it, football truly never ends now. The NFL starts in the fall and ends in winter, the XFL starts in late winter and ends in early spring, the USFL starts in early spring and ends in summer, the CFL starts in summer and ends in fall, and the cycle repeats. If I can't finish that MLS video, I'll keep putting more content out whenever I can. I just started a new job at the airport and they've got me on the graveyard shift, so please keep that in mind. Now, I do want to make a video on another spring football league that was played indoors, but maybe some other day. Anyways, be sure to comment, follow me on Twitter, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you all later.